Welcome to the Margin Business Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. In this special episode, we got Adam Feinberg. Adam is very well known in the Amazon space as he sold his company, Web Deals Direct, which grew to over $80 million in annualized sales in less than 6 years for $100 million to a large aggregator. Adam will tell us more about his entrepreneurial journey in this podcast. We would like to know a little bit more about you, about how you sold your business, or let's say how everything started. Let's start with everything, how everything started and how you made the jump into being an entrepreneur. That will be really great to know.
Okay. Basically, I was doing consulting in the telecommunications space, working for Accenture, which is one of the bigger consulting firms, for about 12 years. I was doing consulting at Verizon, and we had two children who are now 16 and 19, but at the time were smaller kids, just like starting elementary school and all that. My wife's a physician, and our life was kind of falling apart as far as spending too much time at work and too much time in the car and having our kids raised by nannies.
Commuting, yeah.
My wife
commuting all the time.
So my wife told me, my job as a doctor is much more important than your job doing web development. So quit and become a stay-at-home dad. So I started being a stay-at-home dad in 2010, cooking meals and running carpools and all that stuff. And as like a little side gig, I started making websites for people. So it was about 12 years ago. And then I realized really quick that websites, even 12 years ago, was kind of, not a very profitable business compared to doing marketing. So I switched really quickly into doing search engine optimization. And before long, I turned that into a business that was like doing over $1 million a year, which was pretty good considering it was in between Girl Scout driving and making lunches and all that stuff. So I was pretty content with it. Sure. And then I had a client named Richard Bell. He's from the UK. And he asked me if we could expand the business into the UK and he could kind of white label my business. So I started working with him. This was about 2012. And he started white labeling the business on a brand SmartRank. And we grew the business between both sides, the US and the UK, to about $2 million. And we were breaking a lot of Google's terms of service. We didn't even really know we were breaking their terms of service. We were just trying to help people get on the first page. We were kind of a little naive.
How you did that? How you did that? The breaking the rules? Because normally you can, Google is pretty open to everything. I mean, obviously there is black hat techniques, but it's
we were black hat techniques. At the time, Google gave a lot. This was about 10 years ago. The number one factor 10 years ago of getting good Google ranks was having backlinks from good network of sites. Yeah. So we became a very big buyer of domains. In fact, at one point we owned 30,000 websites and had like 150 servers or something like that. And a client would hire us, and we would we had like a semi-automated way of rolling them out on like a bunch of our websites to get them organic ranks. So that became more difficult, like maybe around 2014-ish. We were looking for something else to do. And my partner, Richard, he told me that he had a friend who was a chiropractor, and he was taking a mastermind class in Amazon. And now he was selling a couple different things, and he was making more than he was making as a chiropractor. So he was selling his practice to sell on Amazon full time. This is like 2013, 14-ish. And he was even making more money than we were making. And we should really get into this. So the SEO business was already kind of going down from some Google updates. So I said, why don't you just forget about all your clients? I'll handle the business. And here's a princely sum of $40,000. Make it happen, make it rain. So, I mean, we started a really small time just to like kind of test it. We started selling in the UK only. We started with 1,000 units of 2 different SKUs. a white label.
So you didn't start from the US. You did it the other way around.
We started in the UK because he was living in the UK. His friend was selling both in the UK and the US, and he was telling us if we wanted to launch a SKU in the US, we needed like 40, 50,000 bucks.
Yeah,
and I wanted to launch like 3 of them just to test it, and that was like my whole budget. So we're like, we'll just order 1,000 units of 3 things. So the first 2 things we launched was a nail lamp, like just for women to dry their fingernails. We launched a Bluetooth speaker, and then the third thing we launched was a vacuum storage bag. Now the vacuum storage bag, by a lot of luck, became a tremendously successful product on Amazon. In the UK, after like a couple months, it was doing maybe like 30 sales a day, which we thought was like a miracle. But then we moved it in 2015 in the fall as our first US product. This was when like the review giveaway sites were right at their peak, and we went big time compared to the other product launches. We were going to give away 1,000 Space Saver bags. We were still kind of cheap. Wow. We didn't even pay for custom packaging. We had like a regular plastic like bag that we like inserted like the 6 Space Saver bags in, and then we had like a cardboard insert so you could see like our logo. We didn't even like, they told us it was going to be $8,000 for like a custom poly bag, and we said, nah, we'll do that if like this sells.
Exactly.
So we gave away 1,000 Space Saver bags, and we had a panic attack actually because we did something wrong on like AMZ Review Trader, and someone took like 300 of them.
Oh, in
like
one go.
Like one person. So we ended up with like 500-600. We ended up with like 500-600 reviews, and we became the #1 seller on .com in Space Saver bags, which basically propelled our business to being a multi-million-dollar business like right away. So in 2015, all of a sudden we had this listing that was doing over 100 sales a day, which was a huge number 7 years ago, and had a bestseller badge and was making maybe like $8 a sale. So like a product that was like making $250,000. So we sent a bunch of inventory for some other product launches over to .com, and we thought we were going big time with like 2,000 units instead of 1,000 in the US. So we did some product giveaways. We had about 6 or 7 ASINs, some of which are like really good products on Web Deals Direct now. And all of a sudden by like Thanksgiving, we were making 3,000, 4,000 profit a day. The only problem is by January 21st, we were out of stock of every single SKU because we just like were clueless. And we didn't even know what Chinese New Year was until we kept contacting our suppliers to order new stuff. They said, well, there's Chinese New Year, so you're going to get it like in March. So we eventually got back into stock in April, and we ended up doing $10 million in sales like the first real year in 2016.
But I think, sorry to interrupt you, but I think Amazon at this time, they were still like, the algorithm didn't punish you for this too badly. Huh? So if you would do this today, you would definitely be out of the game, you know?
Oh, this was allowed. They changed the policy in October of 2016. Okay. So some of the best brands that Web Deals Direct Store ever had were all launched with like product giveaways in scope, including brands now that have like 10 to 50,000 reviews on their listings.
Okay.
So we had pretty good timing, and I had a pretty decent SEO business going on still in 2015, 16-ish. So we reinvested all the money that we made on Amazon, and we were living really inexpensively, Rich and I. I'd moved down to North Carolina in 2012. When I started like living at home, we kind of realized living in the DC metro area was not really conducive to having like not one professional income. So we moved down to Charlotte, which was much cheaper to live. And Richard was living pretty cheaply, and we were just funneling all the money back into Amazon. And we started the company really, really with nobody. It was me on a laptop, him in a laptop, and we hired a woman named Cindy that we found on like hiremom.com. And that was the whole entire company for like the first 2.5 years. Now, in 2017 in the summer, we were using a logistics company called FBA Forward, which has been out of business now for like 5 years. And they were located in San Diego. And they contacted us and they told us that, sorry, we're having financial troubles and we're just like closing the business now abruptly. I found out later that they just like, they were using a shipping company called Seabay, and Seabay was like fronting them shipments, and they owed Seabay like $500,000 and didn't pay them. So they basically said like, come down to San Diego and pick up your stuff. So now we were like really turned off to like 3PLs and all that. So we
just to make it geographically, we talk about you are in Charlotte and they are in San Diego. So you need to cross the United States, most probably either with a truck or something else, correct?
Well, my partner Richard, by luck, his wife was American and she didn't like the UK. So they had moved back to California like a year before. Okay. So Richard and his sister-in-law opened up a warehouse in California. And over time we had a 10,000 square foot one, then a 30-something thousand square foot one, and then the last one when we sold to Perch was like 235,000 square feet.
Okay.
So we started it, and we were still pretty small time. It was my partner Rich's sister-in-law Lisa and her fiance, and whenever we got a container, we went down to Home Depot and brought a pickup truck, and we're like picking the illegals up and like having them like unload the truck. And whenever there was like not a delivery, like it was just two people in our 10,000 square foot warehouse. That was for about a year. So we grew the business, still doing this, just everyone being superheroes with very small staff, maybe to like 25 million. And going into I think it was spring of 2018, we were still trying to launch like as much products as we could. We were still pretty slim as far as staff. We went and attended the Prosper Show. And we were at the Prosper Show. Yeah, this was in 2018. And we were at the Prosper Show. This was before aggregators, before Thrasio existed, all that. And we got invited to a big seller dinner. I think you needed to be a $3 million seller in 2018 to get invited to a big seller dinner. Okay. So we weren't really that impressed by most people, but we met this guy. He was, he owned a supplement store, and he told us that he had sold half of his business, a little bit more, to private equity, and he had just gotten $25 million.
Wow, and for a nightmare product,
Yeah. I don't even know if his store exists anymore. And he said like he's making a salary like $250,000 a year. He has $25 million. He's still running the store. He doesn't have to worry about budget. There's a CFO at the private equity company handling all that. So that was like what we wanted to do. So we had no idea how to do that. There's no aggregators, all that. We went to Bank of America and they hooked us up with a investment banker called Gulfstar Group. So in 2018, fourth quarter, they told us we needed to like have our financials like audited to make sure that we were to like have credibility to go out and try to sell to private equity. So we went through that process. And in 2019, they produced like 100-page book and it went out to hundreds of private equity companies. And the process of interviewing and all that stuff, like on the phone, lasted like 3-4 months. And then eventually we got 3 preliminary offers where they said to like come down to the warehouse and we show them around, and then they'd either give us like a final LOI or not. So we had 3 of those, and then 2 of them we thought were going to go through. And then at the very last minute, both of them like fell apart, like one after another. And it was mostly related to, we just don't trust Amazon businesses at this point. They're like too green, they're too risky, any excuse in the world. The one we got was we were too small. They said like, I think we had like $6 million profit in 2019. And they said like, you need to be like $10 million profit, come back then. So then the next year's COVID, and everybody's like out of stock because all the factories in China are closed and all that. But we have this giant 30-something thousand square foot warehouse. So we have tons of inventory, and we just had like a banner year in 2020. And some of the categories that we sold in were just like perfect for COVID by luck. The biggest one was like garden hoses. So you were just like sitting at home, nothing else to do. They're going to garden. So we just had like this incredible year, garden hoses, grill covers. People couldn't go to groom their dog. We ended up selling like at one point 1,000 dog grooming kits a day, ridiculous stuff like that. Nail lamps, that listing I was telling you about in the UK, that was doing like 1,000 units a day, like ridiculous numbers because people couldn't go and get their fingernails done. So we went from like 35 million in sales in 19 to like 75, 80 million-ish in sales in 2020. And our profits tripled. We weren't even really running ads very much because there was just like so little competition based on inventory and scarcity in the market. And like, so we're going to go and try to sell again. This is like, I love this business. It looks fantastic, but like now we're going to be making like 15 to 20 million dollars profit. And like, I thought that would take 10 more years. And all of a sudden we did it like in a year. So we go back to private equity. Thrasio still existed. They were like the only aggregator, but I think at the time they'd raised like 10, 20 million dollars. And we were thinking we were going to sell now for like 100 million. So like, we didn't even talk to them. We went back to private equity. The same people said, you're too small or whatever else was wrong with them. They're like, we really are interested in Amazon now, but like your financials are baloney because of COVID. And we want to pay you based on what you did last year. So that wasn't too appealing to us, obviously, right? So our banker said, I know you don't think too much of these aggregators, but let's go out to them and see what they're willing to pay. So he went out and we talked to 7 or 8 of them who've now come up to me and say, like, we wish you bought your business like a year and a half ago, but we only had like seed money then. So the only 2 that were like feasible were Thrasio and Perch. And
that was the beginning of all the aggregator things, yeah?
Yeah, very beginning. So this is like a year and a half ago. And Perch said that they were interested in our warehouse and they wanted to keep our staff. And that was like super critical. We had 25 employees at the time in the warehouse. And we wanted to unload this warehouse. We didn't want to be like subleasing it for 5 more years. So they were wanting to take over the warehouse space. So that was, and they also said that they were like really trying to grow and compete with Thrasio and were like dying to do the deal and could close it really fast. So they sold me on all that stuff. I really like them. And we went through a due diligence period where it was a lot more of like my team training them because most of their employees at the time had like no Amazon experience. They were all coming either from private equity or they were coming from Wayfair, a lot of them, but maybe they had like 1 or 2 guys. So we made a deal that I thought was pretty reasonable and has worked out pretty well. My partner Richard and I continued to run the store when we closed it for like 4 months, like full time. We trained them. We had meetings with them like 3 to 4 days a week. And then like September through like maybe like November, like they took it over, but we were like 50% involved. And now that we're like almost a year into it, they run like the whole store and I have a call with them every Wednesday for like 45 minutes. And then if I see something I think they should be doing, I'll email them. And they're doing a really good job with the store and they hired really smart people. It took a bit of time because Amazon takes stuff to learn, but they definitely know what they're doing. And then I work with them and we like redid like lots of our images and PickFu and all that. And except for one brand where Amazon Basics has become more aggressive, the store is actually doing better than it was previously. The one brand where Amazon Basics is now showing up as a featured listing at the top has really unfortunately impacted the store. So overall it's more flat, but that's not really their issue. So, I mean, I've enjoyed working with them kind of as being an entrepreneur and being used to like having the final say is like a difficult at first, like when you disagreed with them on a pricing strategy or a giveaway strategy or what to order. But at the end of the day, what they're doing is pretty good and makes sense. And they're more conservative than as far as like ordering inventory and stuff than I would do. But again,
Yeah.
I've been pretty happy with them. So about like a month after I sold the business, I kind of had a panic attack. Like
Sure.
I'm 48 years old. Now I'm now 49, but I was 48 years old. And like, what am I going to do with all my time? Because Perch is going to be running the store in like 8 weeks. And it's not as glamorous as you think to like have nothing to do, even if you have enough money. Because my wife's a physician, still wants to work. My daughter's out in college. My son's in high school, he's in school all day. And most of my friends have full-time jobs. I'm not traveling anywhere because my wife's going to work. So there's only so many times you can go on the boat.
Sure.
And
I would not like it actually.
So my friend Duncan had a store called ClearSpace, and is selling plastic storage containers and like food storage containers and things like that. So he asked me if I wanted to participate in that store. So I bought into that store, and like when we started working on it, it was doing about $15,000 a day in sales. That was like in the beginning of the fall, and now it's doing about 60,000.
Oh, that's good.
We launched about 15 SKUs in that, and we got a private equity line, and we're going to try to do like 50 more SKUs, and then we're going to hopefully try to sell it to another aggregator, maybe Perch, maybe someone else, but something like that. And so that's what I've been working on. And before I got into ClearSpace, we had a couple of trademarks we didn't use for Web Deals Direct. So I like to reserve them like in advance, like a couple of years. So like when you come to want to do something, you wouldn't like not have a brand. So we had a brand Brytech, and we had a brand Pestzilla, and we also have a brand Signature Loom. So the guy Duncan who did the ClearSpace stuff with me, him and my friend Charles, we decided to sell some stuff there. So we just started selling a vacuum cleaner about a week and a half ago, and we just started selling rugs under Signature Loom brand. And we were pretty aggressive like the first weekend, and one of the days we did 29,000 in the day. I mean, we didn't make any money. We probably lost $5,000 like after ads and all that, but It seems like those two niches have a bunch of potential. So we're going to try to, we ordered like 5 more different types of rugs, and kind of unusual because instead of from China, we're ordering from like Turkey and India and stuff like that. And we're selling a stick vacuum, and the reason why we picked like this type of stuff is we wanted to pick things that we thought there was a big barrier to entry. So like, it's a barrier to entry to sell like $100 plus item. Like we had a $350, we've had $350 sales on the rugs, even like in the first week, like several of them for like a 10 by 14. So that's why we picked that. And we're going to also sell like canopy tents, like the big ones that like you go under. So we were thinking that niches like that is not going to have the issue where it has like a million competitors, because you're making like, like a $300,000, $400,000 bet even to like try the niche out. So that's what we're doing. It's too early to guarantee that's going well. We're kind of panicking, as the reviews came out. The second rug review came out, and I thought the reviewer was really harsh. It said that the rug came wet, 1 star. So our rating went down to 3. So that was only our second review. So our rating went down to 3 stars.
Yeah.
And then luckily we got another review today, and now 2 more reviews, and now we're up to like a 4.0. So it's definitely a lot of risk and panic to follow terms of service and just like say your product up in Vine and run a bunch of ads and pray like the first couple of reviews are good. So fortunately right now we have one that's at a 4.5, and the rug, because of the customer not too happy with a wet rug, we're at a 3.8, but at least it's a 3.8. So that's kind of it. Also, in the ClearSpace store, we had an issue that I'll just bring up on the call in case people aren't aware of this. This was like a big issue on the ASGTG forum. but there's a rebate site called rebatest.com. And I don't know how it happened, but they had a lot of sellers who are like following terms of service, and their products like ended up on the site. And then Amazon.
I just had a call with somebody today, a podcast, and he actually said the same thing. So I'm aware of that. So it's that's super scary. I mean,
Yeah, it's a pretty big issue. So I mean, we didn't always do everything perfectly, but now we're doing everything perfectly because Amazon's so strict. So we're definitely didn't do it. And then like they pulled one of our best ASINs, and they said like we're following review policies in the ClearSpace store. And I had like no idea like what it is. I wrote like 3-4 plan of actions after talking to the health team that like got smacked. So then finally I saw the ASGTG thing, and we basically did a plan of action that said like a screenshot of it on that rebate site. I showed them like a support ticket where we asked them to remove it and said it was never authorized. And we like showed them a screenshot of the ASGTG forum post where it said that this was happening to a lot of sellers. And we got like reinstated like a couple hours later. But yeah, it was definitely like a panic, especially like before we got reinstated, and everyone's saying we're going to be in a world where competitors can put you on a rebate site and then your listing is going to get hit. It'd be horrible.
That's definitely not good. That's hard.
That was the excitement of the week in the Amazon space. So I guess the other thing going on is there's a company called Inventus Partners. They're located in Charlotte, and they're a product development invention company. And they saw an article about me based on like a lot of the Perch stuff a couple months ago, and they contacted me and asked me if I would like help like grow their products on Amazon, because currently they like develop products for clients, but then they don't have like a mechanism to sell them once they develop the products. So like here. So I've been in meetings with them the last couple of weeks, and we're pretty close to a contract where we're actually going to where they're going to have like private equity type money, and they have like a whole support staff with like their own Kickstarter application, an email list of 19 million customers.
Wow, 19 million is good.
Like a team of engineers, their own Photoshop, their own graphics team, their own videographer, and they want to go launch like $50 million of like products on Amazon and kind of like be an aggregator. But instead of like buying businesses, they want to like develop them all from scratch. So they also asked us if like we would move our existing businesses, the ones I just talked about, like into the pool. So we're kind of like at the stage of like working that out. So that would be pretty cool. So I mean they have like really big vision. So they want to have like $100 million brands on Amazon, which is like a lot of pressure to start from scratch. But I could use a pretty good challenge. So that might be something that I'm working on starting the spring. So that's pretty much what's been going on. Amazon is a lot more difficult than it's been in the past. I can definitely see it as we started to launch more products on ClearSpace, more products on Britech, especially on a product with no reviews. The ad spend numbers are very difficult. You have to have a big budget to launch a product, because you're going to run like at 100 ACOS. You need to do it for like a couple of weeks to get like the review exposure and the rankings you do. So it's not at all like when we started. Even like when you couldn't give away products anymore, it's just different as far as expense. And then all the businesses are much lower margin. Like Web Deals Direct, at some point our margin was like 30%. And now like ClearSpace, because we're spending like 40% of our sales are ads. And even though our store is at like 30 ACOS, which used to be bad, but now 30 ACOS is good. Everyone talks now about tacos. No one talked about tacos like 3 years ago. Everyone's like, well, everyone like 3 years ago be like, I have a 15% ACOS. Now everyone's like, I have a 15% tacos, which basically means that like you're losing like 15%. percentage points like on every sale on average by how much money like you're flowing into Amazon, and Amazon's loving it. And they've just changed like the whole website design to like just like kill it on ads. They have like that headline ad on the top. They have like they used to, now they have the one where it looks like they're telling customers that these are like highly reviewed products, but then it's a sponsored. It's just, there's just like so many more ad spaces. When you click into the actual listing, there's like 30 different types of ads. And I mean, Amazon has to be making out like a bandit on all this. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and then you have like all these aggregators and services like Techometrics and Quartile, like with really professional ad management. So it used to be like, I would never have a concern. We're going to go sell some widget. I'm like, I was positive in my mind, we're going to be able to get something that's like 25 ACOS with like a lot of sales, like 5 years ago. and now it's like a really big worry. Like we launched the first product we launched in the Brightech store. I'm telling this on the thing, so other sellers don't realize that this happens to everybody. The product did so poorly that we are liquidating the product, because even if I lower the product to like half what I want to sell it for, I can't get enough exposure to get enough sales without bidding a lot on ads. And based on like ordering like 5,000 units, it's just like cheaper to like give it away like 10 cents on the dollar to a liquidation company. And I used to think like, okay, like the worst case scenario on a product is like, maybe I'll lose like 20%. Now, like on this product, we lost like 100 grand. So
that's, yeah.
I mean, it's really like a different world. And like people, I've done this is about the 10th podcast I've done, and people always ask me like the number one question is, would you tell new sellers to go on Amazon? And like for the last like year, I just been telling people no. I had in 2015, 16, 17, I got a lot of my friends on the platform. Travis Killian and Joe Federy, they have a store that does over $100 million a year. I recommend they get on. My friend Duncan, he has this ClearSpace store that I own part of it now. It's already doing 25 million. So I have some friends Ukrainian, God bless their souls that they're safe. They're doing like 40 million. And then even like the people who are going in small time, like every single one of them, they launched like 1 or 2 products, had a job, and all of them made money. And the last like 3 or 4 friends I had launch on Amazon lost like more than $30,000 each. And I'm talking about people who couldn't afford to lose $30,000. Like that was like their savings for the last 5 years. So, and then they would pull me in and I still couldn't help them that much. And like one of the problems was they'd go into this niche where the items cost like $2 because
it's because of the budget, you know.
Budget they have. And then the margins on the product are so low, and then the ads are so high. They're like, I like tried to help them on the ads for like a week. They have like 100 reviews. They're still like 78 costs. They're just giving all their money to Amazon. So I really feel it's like Amazon has like matured like 100%, and it's now like a totally professional environment.
Yes.
And if you're not a professional, like you have no business being on the platform, and I recommend that you sell to an aggregator and leave. I mean, it's very possible like to have like a mom and pop business. You got in at the same time as me, and now it's making $10 million in sales and $1 million or $2 million in profit. But that same type of person like wouldn't succeed on Amazon if they started over with $1 million, or they probably won't.
It's completely different, you know. It's exactly what we have been talking about like 1 hour ago, you know, in the podcast with Hi again. And it's the risk, you know. People need to take risk. And as an entrepreneur, you have to take risk, because it's a risky business, you know. And this is exactly what the whole time you have been explaining your story or telling us more about your business is exactly, I couldn't figure out any few seconds without you mention any risk.
Yeah,
So
the whole thing is risks. So like
exactly.
one of the biggest things, and you know, we had a big exit. So I'm fortunate that I have enough money that I don't really need to do this. I'm doing this for fun mostly. But I mean, you can lose serious money. I'm sitting there and our first product doesn't go well in Brightech, and I'm like, we have zero cash flow. We have like staff, and if like the next one goes bad, like like we're gonna run out of cash, like in this business, like if the second or third product doesn't go well, and it's
Yeah.
quite stress. So like one of the things that's really appealing to me about going in with the Ventus partners is they really value that like we have had success on Amazon and want to bring us in, and they want to give us equity based on like our ability and based on doing work. And they're saying that if we bring in ClearSpace and we bring in like Brightech, that they're going to like buy out our line of credit. So like we won't owe any money like on those businesses. So
it's
we
better.
lose some.
It's a lot better, I think.
So we're going to lose equity. Like maybe we lose like half, but it like eliminates the risk of the business. And then also they're saying like, okay, we can afford to do 50 SKUs on ClearSpace, and they're saying we're going to give you like $20 million. So now instead of having 50 SKUs, you could do 200 SKUs.
Yeah.
So like the more products you launch, the more diversification that there is and the less risk there is. So that's why I really feel like this business is really going to switch a lot where like it's just going to be like bigger players for like the most part. I mean, that's what it seems like. It's already been going on like that since COVID, and in the last year and a half has just really changed. I mean, it's something though to go down to like I went and spoke at ASGTG conference last year, and like the whole, you know, like Hasidic community, and a lot of them have like $5-10 million stores, but they're still kind of like a lot of mom and pop sellers. That's pretty impressive. But I think it's because they're like a cohesive community, and they're very close, and they're like sharing information like really well. But like the regular like isolated seller somewhere that doesn't really know what they're doing, to come into Amazon and figure it out. I mean, we came in and figured it out. We had no idea how to sell on Amazon.
That was 10 years ago. That's a complete different playground, you know?
Yeah, we didn't know. I mean, we didn't even know to get trademarks. We didn't apply for a trademark until the third year that we're selling. We just made up a brand. They said, you want brand registry, make a website. That was the rule in like 2015. So if your brand was like Office Pro and you had an Office Pro website, brand registry for Office Pro, even with like no IP. That was like the way it worked. Now it's like so different. That's the other thing that's like so different now. I am so cautious. Like when we're launching new products, we have like an attorney review everything, a patent attorney review everything before we launch it.
Okay.
I never would have done that. And like we're doing like design patent changes. Like for ClearSpace, we have 15 ASINs. We have 10 design patent applications. Because of being cautious, and they're very minor changes. Like we're selling a plastic container and some competitor has it, and the reason why we're getting a patent is because they already have a patent. So that scares me, right? So they're selling a container like this size, so we're going to tell us a container this size, but their handles are rectangle, so our handles are going to be square. Their bottom of their container's flat, so ours are going to have stripes like this or whatever, to make sure there's like enough differentiation, even for something very simple like a plastic container, like because like
before it was so unthinkable, easy. You know?
Yeah, just like it's just so easy. Amazon is just so serious with like IP complaints, and then what? This is the worst IP issue that I've had. I'll just say another thing because people think like stuff doesn't happen. Adam's like the best seller in the world. So we're selling Space Saver. It's our big Space Saver bags brand in France. We've been selling the brand since 2015. And we had 3 squiggly lines like this over the word Saver, and we had it like that since 2015. So some other company, I don't want to say their name, they went and they trademarked the 3 squiggly lines that look exactly like ours. And they trademarked it 4 years after we used it. Then they sent us a letter. They said we needed to remove it. I was nice. I complied within like a week. we like updated all our Amazon images and we sent them a letter back saying that all our new inventory won't have the 3 squiggly lines. We removed it. Okay. They sued me anyway because we're a big seller doing tens of millions of dollars of sales on Amazon. So you think you could ignore a lawsuit in France, but you cannot because they have reciprocity with the US. So they sue me in France, even though I changed it. So the first time there's a technicality and I won. So the second time, another lawsuit, it's now from an issue from like 3 years ago. I just lost like a month ago. So I owe them like 60,000 euros for like, for like an IP infringement thing. I mean, not only did I never see their logo before, but our logo had that design 4 years before them, and we removed it like immediately. So like the only reason we didn't have a trademark in France is because it's the same brand like in every country. When we submitted it in France, it got rejected. So basically now you have to think like in your mind, if you're going to go sell, like, if I have like a 10, $20 million brand or whatever, and I go sell it in a country where I don't have like IP protection on my logo, never mind my trademark, am I setting myself up to get sued? And it could be so much worse than 60,000 euros. They sued me for 500,000 euros. So
and then you need to fight it.
Yeah. So I'm just saying like IP is a big consideration, and I wouldn't scrimp on it. I would do all your research don't just get text patents, get logo patents. I mean, get logo marks.
You do it is perfect. You have lawyer on this. You have, every single school is checked. So it's super good like this, because I had a podcast as well with an IP lawyer about this, and he said exactly the same thing. It's there's a war going on with this, and they really, and you do exactly the good thing because you felt it already,
Yeah. So the thing is like that person that's not even like a legitimate lawsuit. They're like a bottom feeder. They're like just trying to sue you. It's not like I did them any legitimate harm. If I wrote them back and I said, screw you, I'm not going to remove my logo, and I kept selling it for like 2 more years, then it would be my fault. But the fact that they sued me, even though like I complied with the request, just means that they're just like, they knew my brand was doing tens of millions and were trying to go sue me.
Yeah.
So you have to really protect yourself. So that's just like indicative of not being not being like a mom and pop business. And then sure. I never got trademarks in China, and then now people are starting to have issues like where someone else trademarks their brand in China, and even you own it in the US, you have a difficulty and you have to give like authorization letters to your factory. So I mean, even in countries you're not selling it in, you should be getting consider like Chinese patent, Chinese trademark, and then
as well
patent and trademark. And then you have to also really pay attention to all of the safety certificate stuff too that people used to ignore. You have to make sure you have your CA or UL. Amazon in the last year has gone crazy over CNA in Canada, like stuff that we were selling in Canada for 5 years. All of a sudden they're like, you can't sell this, you need to have that. And then no factory has like a Canada certificate because the country's too small. So now all of a sudden you can't sell for 3 months because you're waiting for some CSA thing. And then in the UK now they have CE, responsible party, that new environmental EPR requirement. You really have to have a lot of expertise and be over it, and everything's expensive. You need EPR is rolling out July 1st in Germany. So literally, basically what EPR is, for people who don't know it, is basically Europe is having regulations where if someone buys a product and they want to dispose of it, instead of throwing it in the garbage, it needs to be disposed of environmentally. So you basically have to have a place to send the product. So if you have an electronics, so it doesn't just end up in some dump, and ends up being disposed of environmentally. So now you're paying for somebody to to count for you, so you can like tell Amazon that this person is where I'm going to send it. And then if someone actually sends them your electronic that you're no longer sending, they're going to charge you like $5 to dispose it. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, Amazon is still like a great opportunity. I can't think of anything where like the ROI is better, especially when you consider multiples, and then especially when you consider that their multiples are increasing. I mean, the multiples are higher now than like when I sold. So if you know what you're doing and you have a business and you can turn it, you have $3 million and you can turn it into a $2 million EBITDA business in 2 years, and then you're selling it for 6x, you just turn $3 million into, into $12 million in 3 years. Where else can you do that? Nowhere.
No,
maybe if you're lucky with
real estate,
crypto or something, but yeah.
Crypto, yeah, or real estate. When you're really big and get a good loan from the bank, and you can really do something big. Then yes, but yeah, crypto is
real estate, and since COVID in the U.S. is really nuts. I'm sure it is by you. Like where I live, in my neighborhood, the houses are up 50%, maybe 60% in like 2 years.
That's like
and
crypto.
Yeah, and then they have no houses for sale. They have none.
Okay.
So if a house comes up for sale, it has like 10 offers in one day.
Wow,
so
what's going on?
Yeah, there's just no supply of homes in the US. So people are, you're getting phone call, and you're getting cold call to people to like sell your home. I get calls from people on my cell phone, and they said, you realize you can get X and X for your home, because they don't have any home listings. Yeah, it's like that. But yeah, I think Amazon's a great opportunity still if you have a lot of money and you have a lot of experience on the platform, or if you're coming with a private equity partner or a partner like in Venice, or it makes sense for the factories in China to support their factories and their cost basis is low, and then on top of it, they're cheating in 20 ways that we can't cheat.
Yes,
this is they're cheating with Trump tariffs and all these other things that we can't do because it's too risky for us at this point.
Or you go into a market like smaller markets, like I don't know, Singapore, Australia, Japan is a big market, yes, but it's different from the US or Europe. Europe for me is a lower entry point, let's say it this way, where you still can get a lot for your PPC money, not like the US. And if you ever want to do real, don't have that budget, what you just mentioned, you should definitely try out one of the European countries to start with.
I like Canada the most, to be honest. I tell people to sell in Canada, and everyone tells me I'm crazy. Should I sell on Amazon? No. But if you do sell on Amazon, I say start on Canada first, because it's like selling in the US like 5 years ago. It's in English. Mm-hmm. And then I said, so if you have a product in Canada, it's successful for a year, you have like 200 reviews, the reviews share. Now you can send it to like UK, or you could even like give a little punt in the US, but like you're able to start in Canada, and the ACOS are going to be like half.
Yes.
In Canada, the amount of competition is going to be tenfold less, and you can price with higher margin there because the competition is less. So it's not only the ads are less, but the margins are higher. It's annoying to ship into Canada. It's
selling as well in Canada,
but it's also in English.
Yeah.
So like selling in Europe is like a big barrier to entry, because like you have to be pretty good at like just like languages and stuff to do like a good job in PPC.
Sure.
Which is like a big failure that we had on Web Deals Direct. I mean, we did $5 million in Europe, but people were saying,
yeah, you could have made 20,
Yeah, people said like Germany is bigger than UK. For Web Deals Direct, we did $10 million in UK and like 2 million in Germany. That means Germany, we didn't know what we were doing, right? 2 million, and it should have been like 10 million in Germany also. So yeah, our product just did better because we were just like replicating our listings, not to change anything. We used like very similar PPC campaigns. Maybe like some of the words were a little teeny bit different. Like in the US, number one word for grill cover is grill cover. Number in UK or it's barbecue cover, but at least it's in English, you know?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we did exactly the same thing. What you just said, we told this to our Chinese customers. We told them, listen, okay, we know that you're big. We know that you make 2-3 million per month in the German market, you know, but imagine what you can make if the listings are optimized, if the listings are written in the local language. Imagine how much you can make, you know, and they didn't really care. They wanted to take the 2 million per month and that's it and run, you know.
No,
it's okay, no problem.
You need to spend time on all that. We
Yes.
even like would try, like we would use like 24-hour or what was it called, like 1 hour translation and stuff like that. And then they're supposed to be like native speaker, and then you look at the listing and the word, it's like technically translated correct, but it doesn't even have like the right keywords in it.
Yes, that's the problem.
Like you go and look, we'd go and we'd look up what our competitors have in their title, and ours was just translated. It has none of those words, none.
Yeah.
It's just like phonetically translated or something. So yeah, so like you need like a real German guy. You need like a real French person, not like 1 hour translation type person. And like going to Google Translate and doing it that way is like a starter way to do it on the cheap, just to get like some initial sales and like, you know, test the market, but it's not like the right way to do it.
Yeah. So the keywords as well, very important to search them, you know, because only native speaker can search them like somebody native, you know, because
so
if you as a sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Did you go to the go ahead.
If you for example from the States, obviously you can get some keywords, you know, that's not a problem. Even in Germany, you will get some keywords. We got customer who come in with their own keywords and they don't want to know anything, you know. Okay, no problem. But these keywords, we check them and they are not like the third layer. It's not like the process of the where you go really deep and can get the keywords out, which really makes sense for this country, and as well don't cost you too much, you know, and you can still make sales organically imagine if you then boost them, you know, that will be completely different. So for a question for the Prosper show, no, I wasn't there this year. It's a bit far from here at the moment, and especially with all we never know what's going to happen until they close again here or open this one here, the border here. So we're being a little bit watching everything from far right now, you know.
Yeah, understand. I went last year and it was like 120 degrees like every day, and I spoke. It was pretty fun. I think it's more of an environment. In the past when I've gone, I thought it was more for a beginner to intermediate seller, unless you were trying to sell your business.
Okay.
I didn't really, and I went to ASGTG, and I thought that the speakers that Ed brought in to speak from there were more advanced and more relevant. And I've been to the Prosper show twice. I think really like the real reason to go to Prosper is to like network with all the aggregators if you exactly. if you're like an entrepreneur. So I don't know. That's why I didn't go. I figured we're not going to sell ClearSpace for like at least another year. So we can go and see how that is.
It's mainly networking, you know. It's mainly networking. Yeah, and this is what it's all about as well at the moment, you know. It's networking for everyone, you know.
Yeah, the one thing we've done with ClearSpace is I didn't want to be surprised when we presented it to aggregators. So now that it's doing like $2 million a month, we've met with like 5 different aggregators just to have a call with them for an hour, just to show them what we were doing. We showed them our sales, our ad spend, all our products and all that, and just wanted to like assess like how much interest there was in the business. I also had a concern, which doesn't seem legitimate, but I had the concern at the beginning, was that if my business got too big, that it would prevent like a lot of aggregators from wanting to buy it. And I had that assumption based on Web Deals Direct, because when I went to sell Web Deals Direct, we said like, it's doing X dollars, and they would say like, we only want a business that's like 3 million EBITDA max, or like it's too big for us and too much risk. But it seems like that those days have changed, and now the
Numbers
aggregators
change,
are just
yeah.
like so well funded. So like when I talked to them, I said, when we're planning to sell it, we're probably going to be like in the $5 to $10 million EBITDA range. And I'm like, does that have a concern? And they're like, no, that's like a perfect size business, and we'd be like super excited to speak to that. I didn't talk to anybody that had that concern. And then my other concern I had really bad was our margins were too low. Because as I said, our margins are like below 20%. And like that was like a big issue like a year and a half ago. If your margins are below 20%, that sucks. And now with like the ad spend up, that just seems like, oh, your margins are 16 to 18%. That's normal. So those were like
it's scary actually, you know, it's scary because any little push, what happened, what you just mentioned, suspension, people bring your product somewhere on rebate sites, or just sue you for something, shut your brand gets shut down, you know, your 16 to 18% is it's pretty roughly calculated, I would say. You know.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. So especially if you're going in with like your own personal cash, that's why I think you're going to continue to see less than that. And then it's surprising to some of my wealthier friends, like when they've come up and talked to me like, I have 300, 400,000. I want to go start an Amazon business. And I tell them that that's not really that much, you know, to start it. I'm like, I'm like, when a container could cost $15,000, when the tariff for the container could cost $20,000, just the tax, all of a sudden, like the budget that you have, it's going to launch like half as much stuff as like, is it used to. And the odds of it succeeding are down by like half of like what it was like 4 years ago.
That's
so
really
I'm like,
scary, you know, that's really scary.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the right place for the professional. And I think like the aggregator, like over time, are going to have to eventually be more like a Venice, because where they're not going to be able to buy like as many stores as they want, because they're just not going to be available. Anyone who wanted to sell,
rather associate, you know, I think this should rather associate like you doing right now, you know, to you know, to shoot some funds in and then go along the way, so they don't have the risk, all the risk on their back. Because now what they have is the full risk on their back. When they give, for example, 100 million out to you, they obviously take the full risk, and you don't have risk anymore, you know. So which is for you good, for them risky.
Yeah, well, that was something that I was seeing. So we took calls with 5 aggregators. One of them was Perch, because I would always consider selling to Perch again. And like 3 of them were interested in like, instead of like me selling the whole business to them and then them having to take the risk of running a business they don't know how to run, they're like, can you sell like 60% of the business to us and then like become an employee for us and like keep working here, and then we'll give you like earn out every year. So I think that's going to become like more of a model.
Yes, I think so.
For a bigger store. And then I think more of a model is going to be aggregators are launching a lot more of their own brands, or they're like, let's say they have 10 good brands. Instead of like creating new brands, they're going to be spending more time like developing their own products within the brands that they already own, instead of like trying to buy like all their products with tons of reviews. And I think it's going to be because the availability of what's for sale is going to keep getting bid up to higher and higher multiple. And then everybody who wanted to leave, who was lucky enough that got in when I did, they're already going to be gone. And then there's not a big inflow of mom and pop sellers who are starting their Amazon businesses now that are going to succeed. I just don't know anybody. I haven't had anybody come up to me and be like, I started selling on Amazon in 2020 and I'm doing $20 million a year on Amazon. No one's come up to me and said something like that to me. And that I used to see that all the time in like 2015, 16, 17, 18. Somebody would like
definitely.
come
and the ones
someone come from nowhere with like less than $100,000 and they'd have like $10-20 million business like in 3 years. I don't see anybody that's my friend Duncan is like the only person that I know, which is why I jumped on it. basically a business he started in like a year and a half ago doing 25 million. He only started it with like $1.5 million. That's pretty rare. So
yes, it is.
Yeah. All right.
Great. Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, it's a lot to cover and a lot, how can I say, it's super interesting to talk to you, because this information, is obviously very valuable for our listeners. And as well, what I want to see how it moves on, because this is definitely not the end. You seem to have you really want to continue, and I understand that, because I didn't want to sit down. Well, what should I do? There is nothing to do. I want to run my business. I want to do things. So help people improve their lives. So exactly as well the podcast for that. So we make people aware what's going on. Can they sell on Amazon? Should they not sell on Amazon? What is the entry barrier? Are there risks? Where should they go? So all of these things, being an entrepreneur, taking risks all the time, because you don't get if you sit on the sofa, obviously you have no risk, So so all of these things, I mean, it's super important, and I'm really happy that you shared this with us. And hope we can speak in the future soon, and you update us on your projects, and I'm sure there's some good outcome in the future as well.
Sure. If you want me to come back like in the winter or something like that, I'd be glad to do it.
Sure. Thank you so much. Thanks.
All right. Yeah. Bye-bye.